Hello and welcome to The Passion Show. My name is Phil and joining me as always is my co-host Kyle.
Hello.
And joining us this week is our guest Louis O'Halloran.
Hello.
So in today's episode, we're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, so I think it's something we can all talk quite a lot about, but why don't you start us off, Louis, by telling us how you first were introduced to Star Wars?
Yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to get into exactly because I don't really remember a time before I was into Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I kind of remember as a kid I had all the DVDs,
Mhm.
especially remember having like the Phantom Menace when I was really young.
I think for our age generation, the prequels are kind of significant, aren't they?
Definitely.
Because they came out while we were children, but go on.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of them in the actual cinema, I remember that. But I do remember getting Revenge of the Sith when it came out on DVD for Christmas.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was
nice.
that was kind of exciting. And I was quite into, I do remember being quite into the original trilogy at the time as well. I wasn't just completely into the prequels, but I think The Phantom Menace was my favourite when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I mean, it isn't
I think that's
anymore,
a lot of
but
people's
when I was a
go-to.
kid.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. Like, I think it was my favourite when I was a kid, yeah.
I went to the they did a 3D re-release of The Phantom Menace. I can't remember when, but it
That
was
in like 2012.
yeah, it was probably ages ago, and at that point I hadn't really clocked on to how bad the prequels were. So I was like, oh yeah, we get to go see Star Wars, and we went to see it, and I just remember feeling like this disappointment in my stomach that I just watched The Phantom Menace and
I
how bad it
remember
was.
George Lucas, before Disney bought Star Wars, George Lucas planned to release every single Star Wars film in 3D again,
Oh.
which would have been painful.
So the prequels, is that something that like you still enjoy? Or what's your opinion of them now compared to when you were a kid?
I don't hate them.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I recently watched the prequel trilogy again,
Yeah.
and I kind of thought, well, from nostalgic regions, maybe I like them a bit. Like, even kind of enjoyed Attack of the Clones a little bit. But
Yeah.
I know it's It's a terrible movie, right? I know. I think Revenge of the Sith is still pretty okay.
I think it's a
but-
good film. I think it's better than a lot of other Star Wars films.
I think in terms of the prequels, I think like the internet's like refound its love for the prequels in terms of memes.
It's
Because,
getting
like,
there.
every scene's a meme.
But
The
isn't it?
prequel memes are so
It's got
memeable.
rewatchability in that itself.
It's also like the internet that destroyed it as well, though.
Yeah.
I think the thing is with, and we'll probably get into this later about The Last Jedi, but I think the thing is with sort of online fandom is you think sort of maybe when we were younger, say like, I don't know, like 6 years ago, for a significant amount of time, the online conversation was very anti-George Lucas, it was very anti-prequel. And now we're a bit older, and sort of as we've become sort of digitalized and we've gone online, and we sort of grew up with the prequels, so we're more positive about the prequels,
More
positive
forgiving
about
in
George
some
Lucas.
parts.
I think like lives have been ruined by the prequels. Like the guy who played Jar Jar Binks nearly killed himself.
What's
Yeah.
his name? Riz Ahmed.
Yeah.
No, not
I
Riz.
don't know.
Is
Yeah, I
it
think it's something like that, yeah.
And then the guy who played young Anakin.
Jake Lloyd?
He
Yeah.
got into trouble with the police recently.
Yeah.
He's had a horrible life.
I think he went to hospital. I think he's got schizophrenia or something
Yeah.
like that.
Is it basically this film's just sentimental?
Same with Hayden Christensen. It
Do-
ruined his acting career.
Yeah. Do we need to explain Star Wars
Yeah.
for a podcast perspective? What I was thinking of, we could do it as like a structure. So we've talked about we can talk about each sort of trilogy in
Yeah.
its own way.
So
So
we starting with the prequels.
no, I think we'll start properly now
Okay.
with the original trilogy.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you think of the original trilogy? When did you first watch it? What was your first thoughts?
I mean, again, I don't remember the first time that I sat down and watched Star Wars, right?
Mhm.
But overall, I think I do remember Empire Strikes Back definitely being my favorite of the three when I was younger,
Okay.
which I think is quite unusual because it's quite darker in
Yeah.
tone compared to the other two films. And I remember probably A New Hope also being one of my favorites. I don't have that many memories of Return of the Jedi, actually.
I remember Return of the
Um,
Jedi just because of the Ewoks.
Yeah.
I remember that from being a kid, obviously, because that's what that was tailored for.
Yeah, sort of looking back now, especially the original trilogy, I do love the original trilogy. I think A New Hope and Empire are probably my two favourite Star Wars
I
films.
think most people would probably agree on that one.
Yeah.
But I don't like a lot of the special edition changes that
Yeah,
George Lucas
that's
sort of made after.
it's
and
one of the
so-
most controversial
Mm.
aspects of it, isn't it?
So when I watch them, there's something called the despecialized edition.
I've heard of
basically-
these.
It's like a fan re-edit. So they basically took like the Blu-ray copy with all the changes, and basically the bits that they've changed, they sort of inserted like from the original. Because I think with one of the original DVDs included the unaltered editions as well on DVD. So I think they've kind of upscaled them and kind of put them in, so it's kind of, you can't really tell too much of the difference in quality.
I think it's like a proper Frankenstein of a film because it
Yeah.
takes from a lot of special editions, and like because some special editions do some stuff well, so they take aspects from that, and then they'll take aspects from the original cut as much as they can, and like make it better to watch.
So, for those that don't know, the original Star Wars, like, it's basically inaccessible.
It is. You can't watch original Star Wars legally.
And
You
the
can't
reason
watch the
why-
theatrical cut.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why is because, like, George Lucas, like, when CGI became a thing, he just carried on going back and changing the film. And
Well, yeah, I think
going back and
he
changing
always
the film.
he always said that the film was never perfect at the start. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he always wants to improve it. But then it comes into sort of a debate where it's like, well, is the film still yours? Do you
Yeah.
still have control over it? Is it not the public's now because we've seen it and got attached to it and stuff like
The
that?
weirdest addition was, like, Greedo saying McClunky
Yeah,
before he
it's the
died.
latest- it's the latest change, isn't it? Disney Plus.
But yeah, the A New Hope got the worst treatment for that of the CGI getting pushed into scenes. Like there's weird like dinosaurs that just walk past the camera, completely
Sometimes
obstructing
it
the
is
shot.
necessary, though, because there are some space scenes that do look improved.
Yeah,
I think the worst change is probably having Jabba in The New Hope.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That kind of ruins, because when you, obviously, he's mentioned in A New Hope and Empire, you're like, who is this guy? And then he gets to episode 6, you're like, whoa, it's a giant space
Yeah,
slug.
yeah.
And having him in episode 4 is kind of like, oh, I know
Isn't
who
there
he
a
is now.
version where he is in episode 4, but he's played by a human?
Well, when they originally
That's
shot
actually
it,
insane.
they had like a stand-in for him because they
Okay.
didn't know what they were going to do with Jabba yet. But in the like edited version, they just put a CGI Jabba over him. But
Yeah.
there's a bit where Han walks past him, but Jabba has a big slug tail, so they had to awkwardly CGI him sort of rising a bit as if he stood on the tail, and it just looks awful. It's so like janky. It's like when Solo's head moves to miss the bullet that
Yeah,
Greedo
yeah.
shoots, the laser. It's awful.
Yeah, so whenever I watch Star Wars now, I'd watch the despecialized one
Mhm.
because I can't really get over the changes, so I just
Yeah.
kind of pretend they don't happen. But in the future, especially, it's kind of a shame that everyone who is going to watch a film in the future, who wants to watch it through legal means, has to watch the George Lucas version,
Yeah.
the changed version.
I always thought they'd bring out the original with Disney Plus. Might still happen.
Is the original trilogy not on Disney Plus yet?
No, I mean like the original version.
No, but I mean, like, is the original trilogy on it?
It is, yeah, but
Yeah.
like I think it means like unaltered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to know if it was on it in general yet, or
Yeah.
if they
Yeah,
were
it
waiting
is.
to add it on.
It's like how they're adding the I reckon they're gonna add the Snyder Cut to HBO now. But that's completely separate.
Silly. It was shit, and it always will be.
The Snyder Cut's probably shit too, to be fair.
God, garbage.
But yeah, so the first Star Wars wasn't called The New Hope when it came out.
It was just called Star Wars.
Second Star Wars Holiday Special.
I
To
forgot about this.
Bridge the gap in time in between Empire. It was
The-
the first appearance of Boba Fett.
This is a like a film that not many people know about, but it's kind of getting a resurgence. You know what I mean?
It's
People seem to
canon.
be aware of it. It's the weirdest
It's
thing
horrible.
ever.
It's on YouTube if
Yeah.
anyone wants to watch it. But I mean, I
I
wouldn't
feel like
recommend it.
I
It's
tried.
horrible.
We wouldn't do it justice if we described it, so just go watch it.
Mm.
You'll enjoy it. It's got all your favourites in.
Chewbacca's son. Who is
Chewbacca
canon.
has got all
Isn't
the
it-
Wookiee family.
Isn't he called Lumpy, the
Yeah.
son? Oh, what a sick dude. After the original trilogy came out, you then have the prequels, which we've talked about a bit. But, like, we'll just do, like, your general consensus if you can, like, condense it down.
Looking at it now, I'm not a huge fan of the prequel trilogy in the sense that I don't think they're good films.
Mhm.
But I think they've got a lot of good memes, and I think in a sense they are kind of enjoyable in so bad it's good.
That's
And
what
also,
I
and
take
also
it
it's
for.
kind of wrapped in nostalgia. This is for the first two. I think Revenge of the Sith is like, I don't like it. I think as lot as another. I don't like it as much as a lot of other people do,
Mhm.
but I definitely think it's easily the best of the prequels. and
Yeah.
it's still a very enjoyable film.
I think there's a lot of good in it. You know what I mean? I like that film.
I know people suggest a viewing order to watch like 4 and 5, then the prequels, then 6.
I think
so you
they
get,
do
like, a
it-
flashback.
I think they do it. You watch 4, 5, then you skip one of them. I think you
it's
might
The
skip.
Phantom Menace.
I think you skip 1. You watch 2 and 3, and then you watch Return of the Jedi because
Yeah.
then that like makes it more weighted and more heavy. I
there
don't
are
know.
some stuff in the prequels that I do like
Duel of the Fates.
yeah,
Ewan McGregor.
He's great. He's really good, isn't he?
the Darth Vader shadow behind Anakin.
yeah,
What, on the cover?
Yeah.
but that just looks like me
Oh,
when
I
I'm
thought
walking
that
down
was
the
in
street.
movie. Is that not in the movie?
Oh, it might be. I can't remember.
That just looks like me with my hairline, doesn't it? What
I
about Darth
also,
Vader?
quite a controversial opinion, I don't think Hayden Christen's that, I don't think he's a bad actor at all.
I think
I think
the
he just had a
script.
bad script.
Yeah, the script he was
Script's
given
terrible.
isn't great.
And by the way,
Didn't
I
like
mean, Obi-Wan has a lot of good writing in some good writing, like some good one-liners. But I'm very excited to see, because obviously they're doing like an Obi-Wan Kenobi series as well. I'm kind of excited to see what Ewan McGregor does with like an actually good script.
Yeah, because if he's good in that shit, like how good would Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan be in his own project that was like really like good? I think it's interesting.
Yeah. One thing I want to add about the prequels. Do you know about Jar Jar Binks' dad? So there's a comic story about Jar Jar Binks' dad. His name's George R. Binks. He's named after George Lucas. He owns a whaling company, and he falls in love with a woman, and he wants to pass on his family name to his son, but she's infertile. But he really loves this woman, but he leaves her. So he finds another woman that he doesn't love. He gets with her and births Jar Jar Binks and despises Jar Jar Binks.
Damn.
And yeah, he ends up like fucking like putting a bullet to his skull, shooting himself.
Oh my
God! Where did you find this?
It is a thing. Have you found it?
Yeah.
Seriously?
He shoots himself because he's Jar Jar Binks' dad.
Yeah.
Because Jar Jar Binks like ruins their life, but the bullet like misses his brain, so like the comic just ends with him like just lowering his head.
I think there is also I think it's in one of the, I don't know if it's one of the newer novels, but in one of the Star Wars novels, you find out what happens to Jar Jar, and it's something like sort of after the Rise of the Empire, he's like working as like a street jester or something like that. And like everyone's really mean to him or something like that. It's really sad. Like he has a very sad story.
There was rumours when The Force Awakens was coming out that JJ was going to have like the bones of Jar Jar somewhere because he hates him so much.
People thought he was going to be Snoke because the whole thing with like
Darth Jar Jar
in the original in the prequels.
Well, speaking of The Force Awakens and Snoke, everyone's favourite character, should we go on to the Disney era of Star Wars and what we think of that?
Yeah.
I think we can go a bit slower on this because I think there's good bits and there's bad bits, and I'm sort of conflicted on it. So we'll go with what you think of them first.
I think I might have a bit of a controversial opinion on the sequel trilogy in the sense that I really like both films.
Okay.
The Force Awakens, I've watched both films within the last week, so it's kind of in my mind.
Doing your research.
Yeah, well, so just getting ready for Rise of Skywalker. And I think The Force Awakens, I understand the criticism regarding it's kind of steals a lot from A New Hope, which I totally get. I think the kind of reason for that is that I think it's kind of a soft reboot in a way. I think Disney bought the franchise and they need a way to sort of bring it back, but also usher in a whole new generation of Star Wars fans. I think the film itself, I just find it's very fast paced. It's very like there's no bits that I watch and that I don't enjoy watching. I think I enjoy every single like segment. It all feels very fast. They're all moving from place to place, and I really like that about it. I feel like we could probably spend the whole rest of the episode looking at The Last Jedi. I really like The Last Jedi. So
I really like The Force Awakens. I think that film's great. Like, it's just brilliant. I don't like The Last Jedi. I think it's a bag of shit. I hate it. I hate it, man.
I agree with Phil.
But we can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, before talking about the actual film, I want to talk about, maybe talk about like what's surrounding the film in the sense like it's a very toxic conversation. It's kind of hard to actually have. Sort of if you go online, like I don't have a problem with anyone not liking the film. That's fine. The only problem that I have is when it's sort of like someone says, "Oh yeah, I actually quite like The Last Jedi," and then some guy pops up who's like, "It's an objectively bad film. You're an idiot." It's literally, how could you like this film?
In first year at university, like after the film came out, I'd get into Twitch calls every night with my friends back home. And there's a friend who like really hates The Last Jedi, so we'd say something nice about The Last Jedi, and he'd just go mental for 2 hours every single night. But we do it on purpose, just like get him going. But he got the debate every time.
I think it's because people feel so invested in it, and when they're disappointed, they feel like they've been let down, like personally, and that's maybe where like that sort of anger stems from. But I don't like The Last Jedi. I think it does some things wrong. So I think The Force Awakens is really good because although it like takes a lot from A New Hope, I can understand that because it's starting a new trilogy and it needed to like introduce us to new characters, and it set up things that would pay off in the trilogy. It made the trilogy feel like it was going to be like exciting and big and epic and stuff like that. And then The Last Jedi came out and the whole film is set over the course of like a few hours or something. It doesn't feel impactful, and the whole of the rebels just get decimated, and I'm like, where can you go from here? You've spoilt everything that was built up, and in an effort to subvert expectations, you've just shit all over them.
So what is it you love about The Last Jedi?
Well, I haven't actually heard the criticism regarding it doesn't feel impactful. It's quite an interesting one. But I think if you sort of, especially consider something like Empire, which is very similar, Empire takes place over the course of a few hours.
Yeah.
And if you think about when Empire Strikes Back came out, a lot of fans didn't like it. I think we kind of forget this because we didn't have the internet.
Yeah. And I guess it is kind of like an echo chamber for every hateful comment, isn't it?
So New Hope came out and it's quite happy, it's quite kind of, it is quite epic, isn't it? You have like the Death Star blowing up, all that stuff. Empire comes out. Empire Strikes Back is very much, it's set over the course of a few hours. It's very much a character study.
There's a lot of quieter moments to like talk. A lot of quieter
moments. There's a lot of, not much material difference happens in Empire, right? If you think the only thing that happens is Han is frozen, Luke gets his hand cut off. In terms of material difference, that's the only difference. What does happen in Empire, and I think what happens in The Last Jedi, is character development, in the sense that, obviously, there's a lot of debate around character development. But I think what happens in Empire, what happens in The Last Jedi, is that all the characters make decisions. Well, they have very clearly defined character arcs, and in my opinion, these character arcs make perfect sense.
Okay. So what do you think of the character of Rose?
I mean, Rose is a side character, right? I mean, I obviously watched this last night, so it's very fresh in my mind. She doesn't deserve any of the hate that she got. The actor definitely.
The actor doesn't know.
Yeah, she got a lot of hate.
But I think in terms of the character, I thought she was all right. I mean, I thought watching her and Finn together was fun.
On that Canto Bite scene.
Yeah.
I think obviously came out of nowhere at the end. Like, that was a bit like...
Yeah, that was a bit cringy. I don't like everything about The Last Jedi. I don't like everything about any Star Wars movie. Addressing the Canto Bite thing, obviously I think a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't go anywhere, in the sense like it doesn't actually affect the plot, because they fail. But, I mean, like half of Empire Strikes Back, Han and Leia were just spent inside a giant slug. I mean, that doesn't advance the plot.
I remember watching the Canto Bite scene, and I was really excited for The Last Jedi, and I was sort of enjoying it. I was like, okay, where's this going? I'm not really sure about this casino planet. And I got there, and I was like, oh my god, this is like the prequels. They've done it. Feels like the prequels. And that feeling that I had just sort of stayed with me.
I nearly walked out.
Really?
Midnight showing. It was so...
you had a disaster that night, didn't you?
No, that was Infinity War.
Oh, okay.
So, this was the night that all the Ewoks were outside. Me and Lauren saw you.
Oh, yeah.
So, in The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker doesn't get to reunite with Han because he dies, and Luke only shows up at the end. And it's left on a cliffhanger of Rey holding the lightsaber out to Luke, and then that cliffhanger is paid off with a cringy, like, Marvel-style joke of him, like, just grabbing it and throwing it behind him and turning around and walking away. And the entire audience is laughing.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the reaction that should be happening.
Well, I don't know, because I think the tone of the film is kind of confused, because it does go for that sort of wacky blockbuster comedy.
Yeah,
and so
that's what I don't like about him, like, largely. Yeah.
I think the way he throws it's quite obviously comedic. Do you know what I mean? It's meant to, like, surprise you, but I think that moment requires more weight to it. Like, this is this thing that Luke's been dedicated to his whole life, and now he's questioning it, and someone just came to him and just handed him it. He could have just
walked away rather than, like,
it's the way
it in and suck some.
He could have just dropped it. It's the way he throws it over his shoulder. I think it sets a tone of, like, I don't know, it makes it more of a blockbuster, more of, like you said, a Marvel film.
I think it's quite interesting how you interpret it, because I mean, I might be thinking it's wrong, but when I saw that happen, I don't remember anyone laughing in my showing. What I remember is just being like, what?
Yeah, my whole theatre like laughed. I remember
because especially watching that thing, I don't find it funny particularly. I think him throwing the lightsaber fits with the rest of his character in the film.
That sucks green alien titty juice.
Why did they put that in? Why did they put that in?
But I think what we have to remember is, especially with something like this, like Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, it means a lot to the audience, because we've seen it from Revenge of the Sith through the original trilogy into the sequel trilogy over the course of 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
In the film, it doesn't matter as much as it does to us, because it has a lot of symbolic meaning for us. But I mean, Luke Skywalker's like, hey, I lost this lightsaber when I was 18 years old, and he's now 60 something. So it's been 40 years since he's seen the lightsaber. I think we just
guess.
have to keep in mind it's not as big of a deal maybe to the people within Star Wars as it is to us.
There is one incredible scene in The Last Jedi, and you sent me a screenshot of it last
It's
night.
not the throne room, is it?
No, it's the
Okay.
Yoda scene.
Oh, yeah. That's quite cool, to be
It's
fair.
The secret text.
Yeah.
That's like the whole auditorium was like silent.
I think one of the things I don't like about it as well is it introduced interesting characters in The Force Awakens, and for me personally, I haven't seen it in a while, so it's hard to think back, but for me personally, they didn't develop as much as I would have wanted, so that when it comes to Rey and Kylo Ren in that throne room at the end, their sort of their fight with the Red Guards had no weight to me, because I didn't care about the guards, and I thought it was interesting the way they were fighting together, but straight after they seem at each other's throats, and I was like, wasn't that fight to develop something? Do you know what I mean? But I don't know, I just felt like the threads that they built up weren't paid off at all.
And Rey has still like never felt any conflict. Well, not conflict, like she's had battles, but never, no loss at all.
I watched a bit of, she lost Han.
And I mean,
Yeah.
And she has no parents.
The whole conflict with Rey is her parents. That's at the centre of her character.
But then,
And I know, what do you think of no one being Rey's parents?
I think it's ridiculous.
Well, I don't know, because it's hard, because it would be obvious.
So.
It would be obvious to just say, oh yeah, she's Obi-Wan's granddaughter or Luke's kid or something, but is it better for it to be no one? I don't know.
You say that they set her up to be someone. They haven't. The fandom set her up to be someone.
Well, no, because J.J. Abrams specifically left that mystery box there for us to have a peek in.
Because he had this whole thing about mystery boxes, same with Snoke, and then Rian Johnson just shot all over all of them.
Well, the thing is why I say that like Rian Johnson understands character arcs is because if you think about Luke Skywalker, so obviously there's a lot of parallels between Empire and Last Jedi in terms of themes. You know, you have like the apprentice training with the master. You have like the master who failed one apprentice and he trains another apprentice. You've got her going off to save her friends, all that sort of stuff. In Empire Strikes Back, the reason why Darth Vader, being Luke's father, spoiler, is that when Luke fights Darth Vader, he's kind of sure of himself, in the sense of like he's like, oh yeah, I'm this big sort of rebellion guy, and Darth Vader being his father throws a huge spanner in the works, right? Because he's like, after that moment, he's completely unsure of himself. Yeah. While Rey, on the other hand, Rey, on the other hand, is already unsure of herself. She doesn't have an identity at this point because she doesn't know who her parents are. If the film went and said something like, "You're Obi-Wan's daughter, you're Luke Skywalker's daughter," that literally hands Rey an identity, so that gets rid of any conflict. Saying that her parents are no one is the complete opposite, because that means she goes from being, she continues being unsure of herself, if you get what I mean.
Okay, I think you might have sold me on that.
Yeah, I think maybe the problem is more stemming from J.J. Abrams within The Force Awakens putting that emphasis on it, you know what I mean? But, yeah.
I think the emphasis is there because that's the centre of her character, is the fact that she, as Kylo Ren says, she doesn't fit in the story.
Do you think that The Rise of Skywalker will backtrack and make her parents someone?
I really hope not. I don't think they will.
I know what you mean, though.
I really hope not.
And I don't want to just shit on The Last Jedi completely, because there is some stuff about it that I like. Like, I like Luke's character arc. I think it really works.
Mark Hamill doesn't.
No, I think it works to an extent, and like bits where he's drinking green tea milk and throwing a lightsaber make his character silly and stuff, but I think the idea of him rejecting the Jedi, because obviously he's just been like chilling for years, hasn't he? No, just reading about it, going, yeah, and he's just thinking, wait, is this all this, good? And it does hint towards more of a grey Jedi, doesn't it? And that's what we might get going forward into The Rise of Skywalker.
So, what we haven't touched on is the other two films.
The side calls.
Yeah, you got Rogue One and Solo. So, both bored me.
I didn't like Rogue One.
What do you guys think about them?
I don't like Rogue One.
I thought Rogue One was... I think it's enjoyable. I think it's enjoyable.
I think it's enjoyable.
I think it's got a lot of lovely cinematography.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, I completely agree on that.
I think Rogue One suffers from a lack of like consistent pacing, because I think it's kind of clear that they did a lot of reshoots, and it kind of the film stutters along a bit. So it's kind of like,
and it's very jumpy, isn't it? It jumps from like planet to planet and really disorientates you.
I mean, when it really gets going, especially like the end with all the battle and all that stuff, that's all cool. But I think it kind of especially first two sort of the first half of the film, it kind of the first two acts, let's say, the first two acts of the film kind of stutter along with it.
But Act 3 is amazing.
Act 3 is great.
It is great, but my problem with the film is that the characters are so one note and they don't have any depth to them at all, barring Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. Is that the name?
Cassian, yeah.
I'm really impressed that I remembered that. I just remembered that off the top of my head. They're the only ones who seem like...
a bit boring, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it's same, but he has that bit at the start where he shoots a bloke, so you know he's kind of like, oh, what's he gonna do? Yeah. Never does anything like that again. You know, he gets the chance to kill Jin's dad, doesn't he? But he doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been interesting if he did.
I'm not particularly excited that they're doing a series based on him, because I find
are they?
They are, yeah.
Oh god.
I find him a very, very boring character.
Yeah. So
personally,
And you know they're gonna die before the movie's even been confirmed, because like. Do you say that in A New Hope?
Yeah. Rebels died. These Death Star plans or something.
Something like that.
It also ruins the start of A New Hope, doesn't it? Because it's that fight scene. What?
Would you say ruins?
Well, yeah. It ruins the continuity of it because there's that massive fight scene on that sandy planet. I don't like sand, and it ends with Darth Vader attacking the rebels on the ship. And then heading out to go board Princess Leia's ship. And when he gets to Princess Leia's ship in A New Hope, she says she was on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. And it's like, no, you weren't. You're lying. You were in the fight. A big fight. Why has no one mentioned that? It just happened.
Yeah, but we kind of know she was lying, didn't we?
Yeah, but she couldn't think of a better lie. Because you went on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. I was there. I saw you.
I see what you mean now.
The Darth Vader...
Yeah, but does Darth Vader know that Leia's on the ship? I don't know if he does.
He's following that ship.
Yeah, but does he know it's Leia's ship?
When he gets on it and she's there, yeah.
Yeah, but when he's fighting on the ship, does he know that ship will be Leia's ship? Because when he gets to the ship, he's like, has he seen Leia before? Isn't she just some random woman? Because he doesn't know that he's her daughter.
But if he's following that ship from the battle... He knows it came from the battle.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point, yeah.
So that's why it's silly.
That scene with Darth Vader, like, the lightsaber...
It's
like,
sick.
Glows. Oh my
it's
god,
fucking
amazing,
sick.
Where he, like, massacres the rebels.
Totally, like, taking out any investment I have just as, like, a cool action scene. It's sick.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm not that big on Rogue One, but to be fair, I haven't seen it since it came out, I don't think. So I might rewatch it in the run-up to Rise of Skywalker.
Will you rewatch Solo?
No.
Okay.
But I didn't mind Solo, I thought it was okay.
Do you want to tell you about how I watched Solo? So I first got a job in the cinema.
Okay.
Bought a ticket.
Do you work in a cinema?
Bought a ticket. It's like the third time someone's made that joke this week. Bought a ticket because I didn't know like whether you had to buy them for midnight showings. Rocked up. I had a token for like a free combo, so I had 2 ice blasts, a large popcorn, and like merch. I got my ticket refunded because like
I got it free.
I got it free. And I was in the screen like with only 60 people in there because nobody turned up.
Okay.
And I had like an entire row to myself with all this scran, and I fell asleep.
Wow.
I didn't mind Solo, you know. I thought it was alright. I didn't think it was amazing.
I didn't get to watch it.
I also thought it was okay. I thought it was entertaining enough.
I don't think it was like offensively bad or anything. I don't think.
No.
I just thought it was alright.
I just thought, I think that's kind of the general consensus. Like, it was okay. It definitely came. Obviously, it flopped at the box office because it was way too close to The Last Jedi, like 4 months after or something.
That was so stupid. I don't know why they did
Should
that.
have came out in summer.
Or Christmas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's not too much to say about it other than the fact it's okay. Like, it's a decent Star Wars film. Like, it's entertaining.
I think the core problem, I think it was like fundamentally flawed from the start because nobody wants a Han Solo film. You know what I mean? It's not something that people have been interested in. His character is interesting enough from A New Hope onwards. it's more interesting for it to be a mystery what he's been up to. Maybe it's not. Maybe they could do it more interesting, but it just without Harrison Ford, even though the dude who plays him did an alright job. I thought he was alright.
And I think they kind of stuck that weird Darth Maul bit at the end for no reason.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
I think
Why
Darth
they did
Maul
that.
might be in episode 9 because of that.
Do you reckon?
Really?
I also think Baby Yoda might be in episode 9. I genuinely do.
They couldn't.
talked
They
about
couldn't.
Mandalorian.
No, because it's not out in the UK. It's not out in loads of places. They couldn't do that.
Because like he's young in the Mandalorian,
He's 50,
so
isn't
he'll
he?
have like aged up, won't he?
The Mandalorian is only, I think it's like
The Baby Yoda show.
it's like 5 years after the end of Return of the Jedi, so I think it's only like 10, 15 years until the start of The Force Awakens.
That reminds me, people hate the sequels because they say that it ruins the ending of the original trilogy.
I get.
Because the core characters like Han, Leia, and Luke, their lives were ruined after the film.
I get that. It is, but you do have to sort of think like their lives will go on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the same thing with when Toy Story 4 came out,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "Oh, 3 was the perfect like ending and stuff like that." But when I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, but how would these characters react to that? You know what I mean? To this big change?
Yeah.
Like that goes on." So I get it, but you know.
I mean, he did have expanded material anyway before.
Yeah. There was like these characters, but I think the expanded material treated them a lot better, and there was a lot of stories. So for every bad one,
yeah, happy lives.
Yeah. So I think the definitive question is, what is your ranking of the Star Wars films?
My ranking of the Star Wars films.
I find this hard when you have to include the sidequels as well.
Are we including the side?
Holiday special.
If you want to, if you want to, you
Alright.
can.
I'll give it a go.
Okay,
I'll
go on.
probably say Empire number 1,
Okay.
and New Hope number 2,
Nice.
Force Awakens number 3,
Oh, this is
Fair.
good. This.
Last Jedi number 4,
Oh, okay.
Return of the Jedi number 5, then probably Revenge of the Sith, then Rogue One, then Solo, then Phantom Menace, then Attack of the Clones.
Yours is really
That's
close to
pretty
mine.
Valid, yeah.
That's really close to mine. So mine goes, if people are bothered, 4, 5, 7, 6, and this is where I really start to struggle. Like then probably Revenge of the Sith, Solo, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and then the holiday special.
Yeah, so the only difference was Last Jedi being swapped with one of them, I think.
Yeah, and our New Hope and Empire are the other way around.
Oh yeah, to be fair, I feel like these two, the A New Hope and Empire, kind of swap in my rankings all the time.
Yeah, I think
I
I
like them
just
both so much.
for me, I like A New Hope because it's one film. I feel like Empire Strikes Back kind of relies on Return of the Jedi to finish its story, and Return of the Jedi is not that good. So that's maybe why. What would you have your ranking, Kyle?
Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. The Baby Yoda show.
Okay.
And Holiday Special.
And that Jar Jar Binks dad's comic.
Yeah, and yeah.
Okay. How into Star Wars are you, Kyle?
Well, okay, I've got a Chewbacca onesie. I've
I
got
know,
a Chewbacca notepad.
I know. I lived with you for a year.
I've got, I don't know,
How many Star Wars pop vinyls do you have?
I've got a BB-8.
That's quite cool.
But I don't know. I don't believe in religion.
So, is there anything else we can talk about Star Wars?
We haven't really talked about The Mandalorian.
Yeah. So
the
have you
Baby Yoda show.
have you seen The Mandalorian yet?
I have seen
you been
The
watching it?
Mandalorian. Yeah.
How did you fly to America to watch it? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay. I do that as well. I
Completely
did that.
legally every Friday.
But what do you think of it? How's it going for you?
I think I've enjoyed it quite a lot so far. I think it's got sort of the grittiness of A New Hope in it. I think the last episode was kind of the worst one.
Okay. I've only
at the
seen the
time-
first one still.
Have you?
Yeah.
The last episode was kind of a bit of a dip in quality.
I know Baby Yoda drank out of a cup.
Baby Yoda drank out of a cup,
Everyone
which is
knows
probably
he
the best
drank
bit
out
of
of a
that
cup.
episode. Yeah, the first 3 episodes especially are sort of very good.
Yeah, I like the first one. I was a bit curious about how they're going to handle like his mask, because he doesn't take his mask off. But it worked okay. Baby Yoda's there to look at, you know what I mean? So, going forward from like The Mandalorian, because obviously this has got people excited for Star Wars again, I feel. Like, I feel like they've done it purposefully to get people excited for the Rise of Skywalker. Do you have any predictions?
What is in what's going to happen in Rise of Skywalker? I think what's going to happen is it's going to be very kind of symbolic. I think the end, in the sense that the film title Rise of Skywalker sort of suggests that Skywalker will be a sort of it's hard to exactly
like a title.
Yeah, like a title. It'll be sort of like maybe because obviously I think the sequel trilogy's had a lot to say about like balance of the Force and that sort of thing. So maybe it'll be something. Skywalker would be sort of like the new Jedi Order in a way, in the sense it's kind of like they try to keep balance rather than trying just to wipe out the other side.
Yeah. It could be Rise of Skywalker in that it's the rise of Palpatine again, because Palpatine is Anakin's father, supposedly, isn't he? Because he put the midichlorians in her, or whatever.
I think it might be the rise of
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Ben Solo.
What?
But he's a Skywalker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably the way it's going to go. I'm kind of intrigued to see how they use the Emperor. I don't think I think they've kind of I don't think he'll be as big a part of the film necessarily, because I think he's just very good for marketing.
Yeah,
so that's probably why he's
just
in
put one of those Ian McDiarmid laughs and you're all good, aren't you?
Pogs.
I like the Pogs. I think they're quite cool.
I like them. They were just there to like cover puffins, weren't they?
Didn't Chewbacca eat a Pog?
Yeah, he did.
He nearly did.
In front of another Porg. Oh no, he didn't eat it in the end, did he? He trapped it away.
That's good.
I said before that movie, I said Chewbacca best fucking eat a Porg. He nearly did.
Well, if he only didn't eat it because the other Porg was there, he must scran bare Porgs. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Chewbacca's gonna die.
Princess Leia's gonna die in this one, isn't she? Because each
I'm
one's
not
killed
sure
one.
Because I know each one's killed one, but obviously
and then
they wouldn't have. If you think that they're using Force Awakens deleted footage, right?
Oh.
Because obviously Carrie Fisher's died.
Oh yeah.
I'm quite interested to see how they put her in. I'm not sure if they will die. I feel like if they make her die, it might seem a little bit
forced
or a little bit sour in a way, because obviously like, she's died in real life, and I don't know if sour is the right word. But I think she feels if she dies in the film, because she died in real life, it's kind of like in quite tragic circumstances.
You have to handle it really well as well.
You'd have to handle it really well. It would kind of be quite nice if Leia lived on, because I think I'm happy either way, to be honest, as long as they handle it well.
Yeah,
but
I think
it might be quite cool if Leia survives.
Yeah. Well, on that pleasant note, I think we'll wrap it up there. So thanks as always to Kyle for being my co-host.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks to Louis for coming on and talking about Star Wars, debating about The Last Jedi.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and if you have any passions yourself that you want us to talk about, feel free to leave them in the comments below.
Or hit us up in the DMs if you want to come on the show yourself.
Yeah, if you want to come on the show, just feel free to message us and we'll get you on the show, because we're always looking for guests. But other than that, we'll see you next time.
Have a good day.
See ya.